Welcome to another edition of the Throwing Bagels Podcast. I am Chris Douglas, and I am joined, as always, by Kevin Mooney and Jason Hamo. Gentlemen.
Chris.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
How are you?
Everything's all right. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, watching the Mets game, watching them suck it up, but that's okay.
This is the, by the way, this is the collared shirt edition of the Throwing Bagels Podcast. So we'll have something to look forward to, I guess, on that. All right. Well, hey, joining us tonight, or today, I should say, on a wonderful Wednesday, host and writer on the Fantasy PTS Podcast. And you can find that at Fantasy PTS on X. And you can also find our very good friend, Brian Drake, on Fantasy Sports Radio on SiriusXM. Welcome in, Brian Drake. How are you, Brian?
I'm doing well. I'm not watching the Mets. I'm watching the Yankees, who are actually winning for once, as long as they don't play the Red Sox. I've cracked an adult beverage, so I'm in the Oswego spirit here. There's fall in the air.
Yes, it is.
Right now, here at the end of August. So it feels like football. It feels like back to school. I'm very nostalgic this time of year. I don't know if you guys feel that way. Like, there's always this kind of just great feeling of like, okay, there's a renewal, I guess, in September. I've always felt for going back to school and a new football season, but I'm for it. I'm so happy to be back with you guys. You guys are doing great work. What is this, like episode 80? Holy smokes,
something like that.
Crazy.
Yeah. We're chugging
Jerry
along
Rice
here.
edition.
Jerry, yeah, very good. Yes, we can do that show. We can name number 80s. Chris Galloway, can we do that? Chris Galloway, number 80.
Oh my God.
That.
Throwing out random ones now, huh?
Wayne Krebet, what number was he?
Ooh, I like
80. Victor Cruz.
Victor Cruz, very good, very good. And we digress.
Yes.
So, anyways, Brian, opening game of the NFL season tomorrow, featuring the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're hosting the Dallas Cowboys. Eagles defending Super Bowl champs, much to our chagrin here on the show. And they're coming off a pretty basic and straightforward preseason. The Throwing Bagels podcast team here, the New York Giants, we were eating W's in the preseason, 3-0. Love it. And they were putting up some big points in offense, albeit against, C squad like defense. But how often does preseason performance translate into good regular season performance?
Well, there are teams that are buying into it more and more now. You look back at the Cincinnati Bengals, who for the last several years under their current regime have been terrible to open the season. And part of that was they didn't play any of their starters in the preseason. And there's a lot of teams that don't play anybody. Philadelphia didn't really play anybody. And I don't think it's going to be a big deal because the NFL is really, it's cut up into quarters, you could say. The first 4 games of the NFL season is really the new preseason, So whatever you're taking for betting, for fantasy, for just general football knowledge, the first 4 weeks, just throw it out the window. It's complete preseason. These guys are just getting their feet under them. With preseason, it's nice to see what kind of depth you have. It's nice to see some rookies out there, but these teams really get more out of their joint practices that they have than they do from any of these preseason games. It's all vanilla. They don't play any coverage. They're not trying to show anybody anything on tape. So, it's nice if your team gets out there and they can put up some points. But there's a reason that people are giving these tickets away for 50 cents and that nobody's in the stands.
So when you say, I understand what you're saying as far as, the first 4 games of the regular season are like the new preseason. For guys that are holding out or hurt, right? Like, how does that affect them coming back? Or like, they're not going to get into full, like last year, CeeDee Lamb had his issues with Dallas. This year, Micah Parsons could, who knows? What do we do? What do they do? Does he come back? Does he start the season? Is he now not having any reps? How does that work?
I'm always wary. And again, I do fantasy football. That's kind of my deal at Fantasy Points and on SiriusXM. I have always shied away from guys who hold out for this length of time. And you saw it last year with CeeDee Lamb. These soft tissue injuries creep up on all of these guys because you can go train with your trainer on the side and do stuff in a gym. Nothing can replicate, man-on-man football that you're getting in training camp for, 4, 5, 6 weeks. And it just seems like I can't say it always happens, it's not an absolute, but you can more often than not, these guys who hold out, we'll see it this year. Maybe Trey Hendrickson, who just signed his new deal with the Bengals as an edge rusher. And if and when Micah Parsons ever returns, it wouldn't shock me at all if the first couple weeks of the season, it's like, oh, there's a hamstring injury, there's a calf strain, there's a hip flexor. There's always something with these guys that hold out. So, yeah, I'm always wary of it. Same with preseason in spring training. You guys are big baseball fans. You don't want your pitcher to skip spring training and all of a sudden show up opening day. What always happens? There's some abductor strain or there's an elbow issue. Go get there, get warmed up, do it the right way.
Another question about preseason. So the NFL, well, first off, let me ask, what are the odds now that the NFL expands to an 18-game regular season?
100%.
100%.
100%. That's going to happen.
When will that happen, you think? And will they subtract yet another preseason game to accommodate that?
My thought, and I've tweeted this for years, and you guys, if you want to follow me on Twitter at Drake Fantasy, you search it up. I've said it for years. The NFL is going to go to an 18-game schedule. Every team is going to play an international game, and they'll get 2 bye weeks, which will be great. And they're going to move the Super Bowl to President's Day weekend. So then nobody has to go to work on
the best part.
That's what's going to happen. The NFLPA is the worst union in sports. They're totally toothless. They have no leadership. And you can see, geez, the NFL is just planting guys in there at this point to run the union. They get whatever they want, the owners, because most of the NFL players, remember, are there for a very short time. What's the average NFL career? Like 3 years?
3 years tops.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's these older guys, the Aaron Rodgers of the world, the big superstars, mostly quarterbacks that we know about, and they're making their money. They don't care, right? And then you've got these guys who are just getting into the league, and they're like, oh my God, I'll say yes to anything just because I want a contract, because this is what they built their whole life for. Now they can make a little money in college with the NIL, but if someone's giving you a contract for, $800,000 to be on the practice squad or whatever it is, like, yeah, you're going to go for it. And these owners say jump, you go, yeah, how high? I don't care about the kid coming in next year trying to take my job. I'm not working as like how unions usually work to try to help the betterment of the whole. These guys are just looking out for themselves, and that's why the NFLPA is such a joke.
So let's dig in a little bit to your forte, fantasy football. So I was doing some, because I have nothing better to do, I guess. I was looking at research online, and long story short, for every season 2020 up through 2024, teams as a whole have averaged 1,900 rushing yards per season. So you take those 4 seasons that have taken place, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, the 5 seasons, they're all top 20 in terms of rushing yards, if you rank them, in order. So it seems to me that the ground and pound is back. So do you think running backs in today's NFL, are they more valuable than they were maybe 10, 15 years ago?
Well, it's twofold, Kev. And number one, part of the reason that teams are running the ball slightly more maybe than they were a few years ago when we got really pass heavy is because defenses are playing what they call too high coverage a lot more. And what is too high coverage? They're playing 2 safeties deep in the middle parts of the field. Why are they doing that? They don't want to get beat over the top. The NFL is all about explosive plays. That's what offenses want to generate. When you have players like Tyreek Hill in his prime, Deshaun Jackson, think of guys like that, people who can make 50, 60-yard plays. What we saw from Saquon last year, actually, that's what teams want to generate. So by playing 2 high safeties, you can then negate the big plays over the top. But what does that do? It lightens the box, and you can run on them. You can run on the defense more because it's one less guy near the line of scrimmage. Also, defenses have changed so much with the size of the kids that are out there. So you look at some of the teams that we grew up with, you got Lawrence Taylor out there. You got these big imposing linebackers. That's not the case anymore. These are all speed guys out there. So teams have built their roster to try to stop the pass, and they want linebackers that can play sideline to sideline. Well, what happens when you run the ball down their throat? You're not running on guys that are big, and I mean, they're still big, strong, nasty guys, but it's not what it used to be. And when a 300-pound pulling tackle comes around and he hits a linebacker who's 225 instead of 250, there's a difference. So that's the first part of it. And the second part of it is, are running backs back? In a way, yes. And also no, because so many more teams are running two running backs out there. Just take the Detroit Lions, for instance. Detroit has two really good running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Now, it's weird that Jahmyr Gibbs can be the RB1 in fantasy, which he was last year, in a split backfield, although David Montgomery got hurt. But that's what most teams want to go to. They don't want to have just one back. So there's always going to be somebody else, for the most part, to carry the load. But that's why in fantasy, it's so valuable if you can get your hands on a Saquon Barkley who's not sharing touches, Derrick Henry who's not sharing touches, or Chase Brown for someone who maybe just emerged last year who isn't really going to share any touches in Cincinnati.
How would you rank your running backs right now? Would you? So I remember last year when we had this conversation, I believe you had McCaffrey up high, and I believe you had Breece Hall up high.
Yeah, that didn't work out, did it?
Well, I mean, I drafted McCaffrey with the first pick overall, so
he got injured. Hey, they can't fault anybody for that. Guys get injured. We didn't know at the time that we were recording. We did not know about that calf injury.
Of course.
Thanks a lot, Shanahan.
And and of course, the Jets didn't use Breece Hall the way they should have used Breece Hall, so that killed.
And they're not going to this year either.
Would you, if you had the number one pick, would you take Saquon Barkley with that number one pick?
It's funny because most people in fantasy have Jamar Chase as the 101, and that's what we call, your first round, first pick. The issue that I have with that is I don't love consensus. And you guys could probably remember, even from back in our days at Oswego, I was there from 98 to, I don't know, 02, 03, depending on some fuzzy math. But I never liked consensus. I didn't like falling in line. I don't like just doing what these other folks do. And by just taking Jamar Chase, you're saying, okay, everyone knows he's the best player. Well, I mean, is he? Yeah, he's in a great situation. Your first round pick, you just don't want him to kill your team. And again, anybody can get injured. But if you draft CeeDee Lamb, can CeeDee Lamb be the number one overall wide receiver? Absolutely. Can he be in the top 5? Sure. Can Justin Jefferson? Of course. Let's go look at the running backs. If you took Saquon Barkley number 1 overall, is he going to finish number 1 overall? I don't know. Maybe not. He wasn't even number 1 overall last year. But he's going to give you week in and week out production that's probably top 5, top 7 at the position. And that's really all you want. So I know everybody who they say, I have the number 1 pick in the draft. Who do I take? I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it really doesn't matter. All you want is a guy who you pray stays healthy, and then on a per game basis can give you top 3 scoring at that position. I mean, geez, you could look back and say, I'll take Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors was number 3 scoring wide receiver last year in fantasy points. He scored 19.1 points per game. No one's going to take Malik Neighbors number 1 overall, and he was second in the league in targets. So it doesn't have to be consensus. Just take a really good player. That's the secret sauce to fantasy. I hate to break it to everybody out there who's trying to do content like I do. Just stack good players in your draft. At the end of the day, you're going to look at your team and go, okay, yeah, this is pretty good. Don't get cute. Don't take a quarterback in the first round. Hell, don't take a tight end in the second round. I know there's a couple good ones. Just keep stacking good receivers and running backs, and you're going to have a kick-ass team.
So just a couple of things on that. I hope Saquon gets injured this year because we're Giants fans and we don't want to see Eagles succeed.
We already got the ring. It doesn't matter. I told this to my son. He could blow out his ACL in the first week. It doesn't matter because we still got the ring. I got the replica ring over here. I can put it on.
Get out of here. Jeez. Get out of here.
And also the confetti that fell on the field. I've got, you name it. We got it. Of course you do.
Yeah, we can see your banners in the background too. Whatever.
This is a true story. If I can crowbar this in. Fanatics, the company that like gouges you for t-shirts and whatever else you were trying to buy. Yes. They called me a few weeks after the Super Bowl. They go, Mr. Drake, you've spent so much money on Eagles Super Bowl gear. We want to offer you like access to this secret club. And I'm like, where was this weeks ago when I was buying Cooper DeJean autographed plaques and you name it? But yes, they did. They called and offered me something. I politely turned them down because I didn't have any money left. I was like a kid waiting for his refund check, walking into the union. Like, come on, when's this thing gonna
hit? And also, the reason Neighbors was getting so many touches last year is because the Giants literally got no one else on offense.
He's going to be good again. I am not anti-Giants. I think the Giants are going to be very competitive. They have, in my mind, I think they're going to be. They have the best defensive line in football.
Yeah.
When you look at the pass rushers they can put out there, then they added a couple of safeties on the back end. Javon Holland, Deonte Banks. This is a good defense. If they can just be competent at the quarterback position and get anything from their offensive line, they're going to compete in a lot of games. I think Giants fans are going to be pleasantly surprised. I hate the Giants.
I don't disagree with you on that, but look at their schedule. Like,
it's brutal.
I mean, it's brutal. Like, they have to play the Eagles twice in 3 weeks, and then that's like week 5, 6, and 7 at that point. You know what I mean? Except for New Orleans, every other team on that schedule in the first 7 weeks is ridiculous. I'm hoping they could somehow pull one out in Washington in week 1, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And that's like, I feel like that's the only other possible win on the schedule at that point.
Hey, they went 3-0 in the preseason. Why not?
Whatever.
They could win. Watch. I'm going to call it right here. Giants are going to start 2-0.
Whoa!
Hey, now
you think they're going to beat the Cowboys and Washington
on the road? Both games. Giants.
Wow! Huge. You heard it here first.
I don't believe you. I don't believe it. He's just trying to just pump us up a little bit.
That would be shocking.
At what point does the wheels fall off and Jackson Dart comes in?
With the schedule they have, he'll be in by week 10 or 11 is my guess.
Yeah, probably.
It's a late bye. You guys have a really late bye.
Yeah, week 14. Week 14 bye. It's
useless.
Like, what's the point of having a bye in week 14? It doesn't make any sense.
If you look at the Giants' schedule of like when you could crowbar him in, it's like, all right, well, do you want to do it at home? That'd be great. The opportunities would be Thursday night, so a short week against the Eagles. Probably not the best. Then they go on the road for 2 with Denver and Philly. Then they come home, San Francisco on November 2nd. Then they're at the Bears, home for the Packers. I think it's either that 49ers or Packers game is when they're going to get him in.
My guess would be the Packers game at that point, because you figure by the 49ers game after that, they have like probably 6 to 7 losses in my mind at that point. I mean, who knows? You never know. Look, injuries happen. That's the crazy part. Like, look, the reason why they're playing the 49ers this year is because of McCaffrey's injuries last year and all the injuries that the 49ers had. Otherwise, they wouldn't be playing them because they're playing the quote unquote worst team in the division in the NFC West.
49ers, by the way. 49ers schedule is so good. If you want to stack a team, I know everybody's hurt right now on the 49ers. That's a team that I love getting pieces of for fantasy. Their schedule is a joke.
Yeah. Well, that's because they're playing. They had such a bad year last year. But speaking of players that you would pick for fantasy, who do you think is going to have a breakout season this year? Whether it's a rookie or a veteran.
I like
or a young guy in general.
Sure. I think the kid down in Carolina, Tedoroa McMillan, is going to have a really nice year out of Arizona. Again, he's assuming the X wide receiver role. So that means he's the boundary outside wide receiver on this Dave Canales offense. And this Carolina team, for as bad as they were last year, they really turned a corner. They almost and probably should have beat Philadelphia in Philadelphia, if not for like one bad play that probably there should have been a penalty on. And Ted McMillan's going to be a guy who's going to see a ton of targets. They're likely going to be trading Adam Thielen off this team. By the time you hear this, Adam Thielen's been traded. And again, it's a team still with a bad defense, and they're going to throw the ball. So players drafted in the first round at wide receiver have a great track record of coming through in fantasy. So I like Tedoroa McMillan. You can probably get him in your home fantasy draft, I don't know, 4th, 5th round. I'm interested to see what happens with our guy, Travis Hunter. Now, he is a phenomenal athlete. I don't know necessarily how great of a wide receiver he is. I don't know how amazing of a route runner he is, but he's super athletic, and I want to see what he can do in this offense with a real play caller now in Liam Cohen, and he doesn't have to be the focal point of the offense like he was at Colorado. Brian Thomas Jr. is one of the best young wide receivers in the game, and he's going to draw all the coverage. So when Travis Hunter's on the field and when he's getting targets, he's explosive. And I think they're going to throw a bazillion screens to this kid just to get the ball in his hands. So those are two guys I'm really, really interested in seeing what they can do. And there's always young running backs that are exciting. I think down in Jacksonville, Bashal Tutin and our guy LaQuint Allen out of Syracuse. Want to see what they do. Maybe by the time you listen to this, they've gotten rid of one or two of their running backs. And also RJ Harvey, a kid in Denver who could be had, in the middle rounds of your draft, who is going to become the pass catching back on this team in a Sean Payton offense. And we know over the course of history that always pays dividends. Now, at the beginning of the year, he's not going to have that role. It's going to be J.K. Dobbins, the veteran, because he's a good pass blocker. But first and second down, he's going to be running routes. He's going to see targets. I think he's somebody that over the course of the year, people are going to be really glad they drafted R.J. Harvey. And he's going to finish the season as a top 15 running back.
So this year's QB class versus last year's QB class, I think there's no question that last year's QB class is just probably one of the best ever when all is said and done. From a fantasy perspective, though, are there any QBs that were drafted this year that maybe might make a little bit of an impact?
I don't want to say that, Cam Ward's going to make an impact for the Titans for himself for fantasy, but what he's going to help the other playmakers on Tennessee a ton. Okay. So remember, they're playing with Will Levis last year. Yeah. He was awful. He wouldn't play on Oswego's football team. And oh, by the way, they don't have one. Yeah. So he's terrible. So when you see now a competent quarterback who won the Heisman Trophy, really good arm strength, smart kid, that's going to help sustain drives, which is going to be great for Tony Pollard in the backfield. It's going to be really good for Calvin Ridley, another good wide receiver you can get in the middle rounds of your draft. The middle rounds of fantasy drafts, by the way, are just loaded with really good wide receivers like 3s and 4s. So if you want to stock up on running backs early, there's a lot of guys who are going to fall to you in the middle rounds. And also, Tennessee has a really, really good offensive line. Brian Callahan, the head coach, and his father, Bill, is the offensive line coach there. They're going to surprise people with how efficient they are on offense. So in terms of, do I want any of these rookie quarterbacks? No. But I do want a piece of some of the playmakers on Tennessee just because Cam Ward is such an upgrade over Will Levis. I mean, it's not even funny.
What is your opinion on Michael Penix? Is he going to make a huge impact in Atlanta?
Chris
this
loves
year?
Michael Penix.
Love Michael Penix.
Chris is Michael Penix #1 fan.
The Giants totally whiffed on that. They absolutely should have drafted him last year.
Yeah, I mean, some funny graphics for some of you WTOP alumni. You can learn a thing or two when just Google that, kids. Google Michael Penix, like chroma key, or what do we call that back in the
day? Lower third.
The lower third there, which is funny. I got a funny story about WTOP. I'll tell you after this. But listen, he's a really good quarterback. And now I didn't love what they did last year with signing Kirk Cousins and then drafting Penix. That's a misuse of assets. You didn't need to sign Cousins to a big deal and then use an early pick on Penix. But what Penix can do is he can throw the football down the field. You remember when he was playing at Washington, they were throwing the ball all over the place. They had a really good receiving core. Yep. It's going to do wonders for Drake London. I think Darnell Mooney is a guy that people are sleeping on in fantasy. I like Penix. Now, do I want him necessarily as my fantasy quarterback? No, but he's one of these players, again, he's going to elevate some of the talent around him. So, maybe if you're in a 2-quarterback league or he's like a bye week guy you want at the end of your bench, he's going to fill in for you, fine. Because really, what kind of evidence do we have on Penix? Last year, week 18, he put up 25 fantasy points, threw for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick, and also ran for a touchdown. He's not a big-time runner, but he's somebody who's he's mobile enough to move around in the pocket and make a lot of throws. So I'm excited to see what he can do for the Atlanta offense.
And your TOP story, let's go.
Oh, so my son, Derek, who is 13 years old, he is a big weather guy. Loves watching the weather. For you guys who know, I live in Syracuse. It's Jim Teskey is our chief media.
Yes.
Loves Teskey.
Yes.
So he's like, we got to go to the fair. I got to meet Jim Teskey. So we go on Saturday, and they're doing this like weather school thing. And I just kind of stand back there and I'm watching. And I don't know, one of the guys on the weather team is John D. Pasquale, Oswego alum, who maybe you've had on this podcast.
We have.
Yes.
John and I did the Sunday night WTOP newscast, I think my sophomore year. So it's like 99 or 2000, something like that. And that show was an unmitigated disaster. Mooney probably remembers how that show ended. At one point, it was like Maria Leaf's final day is producing it.
Oh, no.
I pull out a ladder and I climb the ladder and I drop an elbow on somebody. Do you remember this, Kevin?
No, was I there for that? I don't know.
This was bananas. And because Maria, I don't know, we all love Maria, but I think somebody screwed her over. They did her wrong. Don't cross Maria. So she comes in, she's pissed off. It's like the last newscast of the semester. And I'm sure she remembers this. And she's like, Drake, do whatever the hell you want out there. Again, don't say that to me as a 19-year-old kid who probably was half drunk on the air. So yeah, it was bananas, but I don't know if John remembers me or not. Maybe he does, but it was funny seeing him out there, like doing an experiment on the stage with my son, who was a volunteer up there. So it was kind of a full circle moment.
So cool.
Very cool. Great meteorology school. Anybody listening, send your kids there. The greatest weather classroom on earth is Lake Ontario. And the hardest class you'll ever take at Oswego is meteorology. Trust me on that.
It's true.
I failed out of that thing with the quickness.
we had a discussion about that with Scott Steiger. We talked about kids that fail out, that drop out very quickly because they realize they can't handle the math and all that kind of stuff.
A lot of math.
Maybe your son will be a meteorology major.
Oh, he's infinitely smarter than me. I was bounced out of there faster than a kid with a bad ID at the nut house. They're like, get out of here. You're done.
Jim Teskey, by the way, attended Oswego but didn't graduate from there. He transferred somewhere else. So there's
the Jerry Seinfeld route.
Yes, the Jerry. That's right. And Dave Longley is still there. He's an Oswego guy. So there's so many Oswego connections between John D. Pasquale and Jim Teskey, and it's fantastic. And you're right, Brian. I don't know that there's many meteorology programs that are better in this part of the country than Oswego's. So
it really is this hidden gem. Nobody talks about it. No. But they should. That should be like a shining light. I know obviously we have Al Roker that came out of Oswego, but that's a great program. And I hope with the addition to Hewitt Union / Hewitt Hall, whatever they're calling it these days, opening up, shout out to Oswego, that they can continue to bring in kids to the communications program and broadcasting and crank out talent, because we know everybody who goes to the big school down the street, but Oswego with a little technology, a little money, they're not, cutting reel-to-reel tape with Butch Charles anymore. But these kids can compete now.
Yeah, but they don't have a meteorology program down the street from you. We're the only ones with the meteorology program, and like you said, our backyard is Lake Ontario.
I saw Butch Charles in person. Our friend John Gay, who made it to the WJPZ Hall of Fame. I went to his induction ceremony. Shout out to John. If you guys have ever heard him or watched it, guy does great podcast editing. If you're ever in need of that. So at his induction, Butch Charles is sitting in the back of the room, and it took everything in me to not go back to him and say, like, because I remember telling him during the class, I go, nobody cuts reel-to-reel tape. I was interning or maybe working at that time at WHEN in Syracuse. And Adam Shine was on the air. And I'm like, this is all computerized. This is late 90s, early 2000s. He's like, nope, it's what we got to do. So what we're learning here. I'm like, what are we doing? Like nobody is going to be cutting reel-to-reel tape anymore. But that's O-Town for you. That's what we had the budget for. It's reel-to-reel tape.
Yeah, totally worth it. Like, but I mean, even at RVO, we weren't. I mean, we discussed this in our previous podcast, but we talked to the station manager at WRVO, and
I'm an alum.
Yes, so they were using digital editing when we were there. When we were students, they had digital editing in place, and I don't remember ever learning it. Like
WRVO was the greatest opportunity for a young kid pledging a fraternity because it was like work study or whatever they wanted to call it.
Yeah.
So I'm pledging and I'm just exhausted. Our fraternity is kicked off campus, so it doesn't even matter at this point what I talk about. But so I would be like, hey, listen, guys, I got to go to this work study class at WRVO or whatever I was doing. And I would just go in there, boom, put on some Diane Rehm, out like a light. Sleeping in the edit bay. I'm sure that has been a trick that Greeks at Oswego have used for years. But shout out to WRVO. Great stuff they're doing up there. And save PBS. Oh, by the way, throw that in there.
Yes, of course.
And all the public broadcasting stations.
But you're right. The auxiliary studio had the foam on the wall. So you just kind of rest your face up against the foam and take a little nap.
I just brought a pillow. That was the best. Going in there. I remember listening to those shows, All Things Considered.
Yes.
Whatever Diane Rehm was talking about with her scratchy voice. Like, I remember thinking as a kid, because, we're in there and we want to be the next Howard Stern or whatever we're trying to do. We're like, who the hell's listening to this? like this is really on the air across the United States. But people dug it. God bless them.
Yeah, exactly.
If there's any current Oswego students that are listening and you want to look into getting an internship with WRVO, that's what you have to look forward to. You can put your head against the foamy stuff in the studio and just chill for a little while.
A little nappy
just to get away from things.
Yeah, work your hangover off. It's great. Was in the basement of Lanigan Hall, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think they moved out.
No, they're still there right now, I think.
I'm going to go back and check it out. The Com Studies dinner. I want to go see the WRVO studios again. I'll check that out.
I think they moved within the building. I think they're in a different part of the building now than they were when we were students. But yeah, I mean that's memories. Yeah, hopefully it's open. We'll just storm in there.
That's right.
Friday night. Let us in. And Brian, just to get back into fantasy football just a bit, you mentioned today and previous times we've spoken, it was all about preparing for the draft and executing the draft. What happens during the season? Like what kind of strategy do you have to look at when it comes to maintaining your roster through 18 weeks?
Yeah, I don't want to say fantasy football is a lot of luck, but fantasy football is a lot of luck. Let's be real. It's unless you're playing best ball where you're trying to score the most points, it's simply your roster of let's say 8 guys against one other guy's roster of 8 guys, and you have to beat him on that day. If you do, everybody else in your league could score more points than you. But if you beat that guy across from you, you get a win. So here's what you have to do in fantasy football during the season. You got to pay attention. Okay. You got to work the waiver wire. You've got to be cognizant of your team and setting a lineup. So many people just say, hey, these are the guys I drafted. He's my starting running back. Every week, I'm just going to put him in the lineup. He could be killing you and averaging 6 points a week, but you drafted him in the 3rd round as your, wide receiver 2. So you're going to keep plugging him in there. You have to look at production, not just the name value. So, take that into consideration, work the wire. Even if you don't need the hot waiver ad of the week, add them. You always want talent on your bench because in the NFL, you never know when injuries are going to strike, or you never know when a trade might be coming down the pike that could improve your team. So, plus you're blocking your friends. Why allow them? If there was a great tight end that became available on the waiver wire. Maybe you're in a league and nobody for some reason drafts Tyler Warren, rookie out of Indianapolis. And then you're sitting there 2 weeks and you're like, wow, he scored the first 2 weeks of the season. Somebody better pick him up. But you already spent an early round pick on Trey McBride or Brock Bowers. Pick his ass up anyways. Again, block your team or block your league mates, find some trade partners. That's how you win in fantasy football. And what if all of a sudden, like you said, your tight end gets hurt? So do that. Just be ahead of the game. Proactively pick up handcuff running backs. If you're playing, I'm going to give you guys a real kind of dickish move that I do. If you play on Yahoo, and I know a lot of people do, they allow you to add and drop players after they've already played if they're on your bench. So here's what we do in my league, and people go bananas for it. Whatever the Thursday night game is, you eyeball it. Like, for instance, the opening game of the season is Philadelphia and Dallas. If nobody owns Will Shipley gets picked up, the handcuff running back to Saquon Barkley. Barkley doesn't get hurt. Okay, you drop Shipley. You pick up a 1:00 in the afternoon handcuff. Nobody gets hurt. Drop them. Pick up somebody in the 4:00 window. You do that through every window, just trying to jump the waiver wire and win the lottery. And is that kind of shady? Yeah, of course. But we went to Oswego. We're used to these things. This is how we get by. All right.
I don't think I can do that in my league. I don't think I can do that.
This is not above anyone here. Yeah, some leagues have outlawed it. Some platforms don't allow you to do it. But if they do, again, that's the other thing with fantasy football. Know the rules of your league inside and out and how to circumvent them. Because unless there's a rule for it, you can do it.
Yeah, like we have a rule in my league. You're only allowed 2 quarterbacks on your roster at all times, unless like someone gets hurt, and then you can like pick up a third one in that short intermediary time before the end of the week. But other than that, you can only have two quarterbacks on your roster at all times. So no one's like hoarding 3 quarterbacks, 4 quarterbacks at a time.
That is why rules are made in fantasy football, because somebody found a loophole and they said, oh, the guy I'm playing against needs a quarterback, and adds 38 quarterbacks off the waiver wire so that his opponent can't have them.
Going back to, the teams overall, who do you think this year is your Super Bowl favorite? And, as the question is probably been for the last, 4 years, can the Bills finally get over the hump?
And I'm not going to say Philadelphia. And is Philadelphia a Super Bowl favorite? Of course they are. They're a very good team. But it's hard to repeat. It's hard to just get back there, even though they've been to 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls. So I'm not going to say Philadelphia because it's just so hard. And luck and injuries are probably going to go against them this year. So in the NFC, like I said, I like San Francisco a lot. I think the NFC is really wide open. I think that North is going to be tough. Whoever comes out of there, maybe Minnesota with a rookie quarterback and J.J. McCarthy. They've got a great offensive line they've invested a ton of money in, and maybe the best defense in football in Minnesota. But on the AFC side, again, until somebody beats Kansas City, Kansas City's a team to beat. They went out. What was Kansas City's big problem last year? They couldn't protect Patrick Mahomes. So what did they do in the offseason? They went out and they got themselves a couple of tackles. So Kansas City is still going to be very good. Buffalo needs to find themselves an identity on offense that isn't just put the Superman cape on Josh Allen, because that realistically is their offense. Is it maybe let's lean a little more on James Cook, who we just paid some money to? Okay. Maybe we, for once, find a go-to receiver. Okay, that'd be nice as well. Hey, you spent a first-round pick on Dalton Kincaid at tight end. Why don't we try throwing him the football? That might help too. But Buffalo's issue to me is they spread the ball around too much. And when you got to throw the ball to somebody, Josh Allen doesn't know where to go with the football, because you're looking at that team and it's Khalil Shakir, he's a middling slot receiver. Josh Palmer, who they just got from the Chargers, has always been like a number 3. You got a couple of tight ends who are kind of interchangeable. You don't throw the ball to. Maybe it's Keon Coleman. Maybe Keon Coleman becomes his go-to big play guy down the field. And I hope so, because I'd love to see the people of Buffalo and their fans get a championship, burn the city to the ground, and just be proud for one off season. So I love Kansas City. Again, I think they're still going to be very good. But man, that AFC is loaded. There's so many good teams. And then give me one more sleeper. How about if Matthew Stafford could stay healthy? The LA Rams. That defense is as legit as any in the NFL. They can get after the quarterback.
Yeah, I just don't feel like he's going to stay healthy though.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's the big risk with drafting Puka Nacua early, taking on Devontae Adams, who I love more than Puka Nacua this year, to be honest. You can get a 2-round discount on someone who I think is going to outscore Puka Nacua. And I have 0.0 trust in Jimmy Garoppolo. I know people are like, oh, remember when he took a team to the Super Bowl?
Jimmy G.
Buddy, that was like 7 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Like this wasn't yesterday. Go look at anything he's done in the past few years. It's not great. So I have no trust in Jimmy G.
Is he the backup? He's the backup for the Rams?
Yeah.
That's hard.
And I think Stetson Bennett might be the
Stetson
third.
Bennett, yeah.
Oh my God, Stetson Bennett.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Garoppolo's perfect for LA because he's beautiful, man.
Oh, he's a good looking dude. I'm so jealous of that hair. That hair. It's
Amazing.
Good looks is not going to win you Super
Amazing.
Bowls.
Nope.
If I were the Los Angeles Rams, I would be knocking on the door of the Giants right now. I'd say, what can I give you for Jameis or Russ, for this matter? And I'd also probably go, I mean, they already made a trade, but the Browns traded away Kenny Pickett. I would have gone to them and said, can we have Joe Flacco? And let the Browns stink. The Browns have 2 first-round picks next year. They're going to draft a quarterback next year. Let them do what they want with these young guys.
Maybe they'll trade Shador Sanders.
He's going to make the team now that Kenny Pickett's gone. So
he is.
Interesting.
And he is a project. He's a project.
Yeah, I mean, listen, is Shador a talented quarterback enough to play in the NFL? Sure. He can be a backup for right now. And there's nothing wrong with that. You see guys who had really good college careers, like Kyle McCord got cut by the Eagles.
Mhm.
Will he make it on the practice squad? Sure, but he needs time to develop. It's such a unique athlete and person that can come right from college and step in day one to the NFL and have an impact. I mean, you look at Troy Aikman won one game as a rookie.
Yes.
Peyton Manning, terrible season rookie. I think they won 1 game as well. So it's hard to come into this league and win. So it's going to take Shador a few years.
Yeah, for sure. One final question before we get you out of here. Since you've been doing this fantasy football, you like dove headfirst into it, and congratulations on all your success, by the way, if we haven't said it on the front end. Is there one experience that kind of stands out to you since you've kind of gotten into this full time?
I don't know. There's been a few things that I could run through quickly that really popped. I remember sitting in a Zoom lobby, sort of how we're doing the show, and Adam Schefter was our guest.
Wow.
And I remember sitting there just thinking like, oh my God, Adam Schefter is going to pop up on my screen here. And he just pops in. He's like, hey guys, what's going on? We just start shooting the breeze. So that was really cool. It was fun. I was at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I do an event out there every year called the Fantasy Football Expo. And I was with Mike Clay from ESPN. And some news broke on some receiver. I don't even remember what it was. But then I see Mike get on his phone, and the late Mike Tagliere from Fantasy Pros was with us as well. And these guys just breaking news, sending stuff. I'm like, holy smokes. I'm just sitting in the van with these guys, and they're sending out tweets to millions upon millions of people. That was very fun. And then a few years ago, I won the Fantasy Sports Writers Association Award for Article of the Year. And it was an article about my son finding fantasy football and learning to lose. And I tied it in with fantasy and the NFL and all this. But the reason it sticks out in my mind so much is when I got the call, they tell you if you're nominated, hey, we're going to call you potentially if you win on this day. There's a show on SiriusXM. And so I'm in my car. And mind you, I literally just lost my job I don't know, a month before this. So I'm unemployed, feeling like total trash. And I'm driving in my car by the New York State Fair here in Syracuse. I remember I pull over, I'm just listening to the show, and I see it's a New York City number. And I know that's where the studio is. And I start crying. And it just hit me. I was like, holy, I won. And it just kind of validated a lot of things and some hard work. Because in my journey, there's been some ups and downs, just like anybody has in a career. And this isn't what I do full time. I'd like it to be, but it's not. Is where I had my co-host. I was doing a show for 5 years, and I love my co-host at the time, Dwayne. He got a full-time job with Matthew Berry, and he got a great salary and he's huge. You see Dwayne everywhere. His face is on the cover of a magazine in every grocery store in America. But they didn't take me with them, and at a time that hurt. And then I was doing the morning show on SiriusXM a year ago, and there was some restructuring and things happen, and they go, okay, we're going to bring the show back, but you're not going to be a part of it. It's going to go down to 1 hour, and we're going to have a guy who's been hosting it for 15 years. Again, I have no ill will towards that. I would hire Paul Kelly to do it as well. Paul Kelly's the best. But there's so many things that kind of, you get to a level where you think, oh man, I'm kicking ass, I'm doing great. And life has a funny way of always bringing you back down. And I always tie that back to my experience at Oswego, where I went to Oswego sight unseen. I was going to go to Syracuse University. That was always my dream. And when I realized I could not afford to go there, I said, screw it. I'll go to Oswego for a year. I'll transfer out, whatever. But going there, when I walked into WTOP and WNYO, I realized these people around here are just like me. They're middle-class kids from some random town in upstate New York or downstate, whatever the case may be. But they're like me. I don't fit in a place like Syracuse where everybody is some rich kid from Boston or Long Island or Chicago. Like, I don't fit in with that crowd. That's not me. I went to a city school in Syracuse. My dad's a truck mechanic. So, these Oswego kids like us, you got to fight, and no one's going to give you anything. And if anybody's still listening to this podcast, you're a kid that goes to Oswego, just remember that you got to fight every day, because no one's going to look at your degree and say, oh, wow, you went to Oswego. That's amazing. Maybe you find one or two alumni that do. You got to prove yourself every single time you go out there, because it's just the stigma that hit us. You guys I'm sure every single one of you guys on this podcast has experienced that, where someone's like, what's Oswego? Where's that from? Like, nobody cares. And you got to show your worth. And, you guys are all very smart, talented guys. And I know you've probably done it in your careers as well. So it's a long-winded point to say, like, something that stuck out in my fantasy journey is probably all the times I've been told that I'm not good enough. And I got to battle through that even now, kind of, and reinvent myself going forward. We got very deep here on the Throwing Bagels Podcast. Sorry.
No, Brian, that was excellent. And I agree. Like you said, and we've all had to fight for whatever, because we went to Oswego. But that's not to say that, the education, the experiences that we had at Oswego, that helped a lot to get through that adversity. So
I wish I could go back. I do. If I could go tell any kid or myself 25 years ago anything, go to class. Like, I know I did the whole fraternity thing and all that. Like, go to class, get involved. I wish I would have written for the Oswegonian. Like, I wish I would have just done more. You're paying so much money to go to these schools. Like, use every outlet possible to network and to get stuff on tape and to get stuff for a reel or a brag book. And you don't even need that anymore. There's no gatekeepers. You can start your own YouTube show. It doesn't matter. Yeah. But just do it. Get there and do it. You don't have to. Don't wait for someone to tell you, hey, come sign up for this. Just get there and do. And that's the beauty of Oswego, is day one, you can get on the air doing things. You don't have to sit 4 years behind somebody at a station like WAER in Syracuse to get on the air and do one basketball game in your entire life. I mean, I was doing basketball games thanks to Kevin Mooney, who was sports director, as like a freshman. And then by my senior year, I was the voice of Oswego State basketball. I called every game they had. So, like, that's the beauty of Oswego, is there is opportunity. Just go get it.
Yeah. And you'll have that opportunity to tell current students, if you want, at the comm dinner. And I'm sure we will absolutely see you there.
I'd love to speak at it. Get me up on stage.
Absolutely.
Let's
go. Get him on there. Whoever's listening, get Brian on there.
3 high noon.
Give him a few drinks first, and then let him on the stage.
By the way, I am drinking a mango high noon. I just finished golfing with my son before this. We had to pick my daughter up from cheerleading. These are pretty good. That we didn't have these when we were back in school, but
no, they had beer, like, and that's
I
it.
know. In the summertime, I switch off the beer. I'm a big IPA guy, but I'm like, these are refreshing, man. I'm into it.
Didn't like Smirnoff Ice just come out like late 90s?
It was Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Mike's
Hard Lemonade.
Yeah. Oh, that's another. Here's a great, another terrible story / great, however you want to look at it. So I get into my fraternity and R.I.P. Oompas, greatest bar in Oswego that burned down.
Yeah, it did.
So I'm in Oompas, just getting my fraternity. And I remember getting into the fraternity, telling the guys, I'm like, I don't really like beer at this point, which later on in life, I became a beer salesman. But they were like, don't worry about it. You don't have to drink any beer. I'm at Oompas and I'm talking to a young lady at the bar. And I'm like a freshman. I look like I'm 13 years old. And so one of the guys goes to the bartender. He buys a beer and he sends it down. It's a Woodchuck hard cider.
Oh.
And so the bartender comes over and she's like, hey, honey, here's your drink. And she puts it down right in front of me. It's a Woodchuck cider. Guys are dying laughing in the corner. This girl's like, I got to go. But I'll never forget. Those things would give you an instant hangover.
Oh, terrible.
By the way.
Yeah.
There's so much sugar.
It's pure sugar. I mean, yeah.
Well, Brian, we really appreciate your time. And like I said, we'll run into you at the comm dinner coming up in a couple months here, and continued success.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And keep doing this. Keep pushing the Oswego agenda out there. And it's a great school. There's great programs. And hey, our degrees look better every day with what these kids are doing and the money they're putting into that school. So God bless them up there. And I'm looking forward to coming back and getting myself a Texas hot cheeseburger sub.
Ooh,
there you go.
Nice. That's right. Ketchup, mustard, pickle, mayo, Texas hot.
Wow.
I'll have to try
it's
that.
Not as good as it was 20 years ago. Not going to lie. You guys all know that. But
yes,
it's still good. I'll still eat one after 38 high noons.
Thanks, Brian. We appreciate it. And that was Brian Drake, Oswego alum and friend of the show. Some really good information there about the upcoming football season. He's a big Eagles fan, and he doesn't think they're going to make the Super Bowl, but he thinks the Giants are going to be a little more successful than maybe we think, because, we're a little emotional about it. But what do you guys think? He's thinking that the defense is going to be keeping the Giants in games this year.
I think he's an Eagles fan who got his win, got his second Super Bowl win, and he doesn't want to be greedy, and he's just kind of being like, well, don't worry about it. Like, we'll be around. Like, he knows the Giants aren't going to be very good. He's just kind of blowing smoke about the Giants. I mean, look,
I don't know.
Don't get me wrong. The Giants defense is going to be, especially their defensive line, like he said, is going to be the best part of that team with the pass rushers that they have, and Dexter Lawrence in the middle.
Sexy
like
Dexy.
Without a doubt, that line is going to be. They have the type of line now, which I don't want to compare players, but to the Super Bowl teams had like the rotating pass rushers who could get to the quarterback. Like, I'm not saying they're as good. I'm just saying they have that capability, though, especially with now Abdul Carter and but is the offense can it score any, if the offense can't score and keep the defense off the field to let them rest, and they're just constantly coming back on the field, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we'll see. And he also predicted 2-0, by the way, for the Giants to start the season.
That's not going to happen either,
which is crazy. That's nuts.
Look, I kind of agreed with what Brian said, because I think the last time we talked about this, I said that they would be pretty competitive this year. And so a fumble goes one way, an interception goes another, the ball bounces this way.
You never know.
They could pluck a couple of W's out of nowhere. So, you don't know.
Well, I mean, think about it.
We'll see.
The playoff year, right? That's basically what happened. Like,
they
won all those close games.
Lucky
That season, that's basically what happened. Like the Packer game when they were in, where were they? I think they were in London. That game, Rodgers hurt his finger or something like that. Or the first game of the season when they went for two.
Went for 2 and won the game. The Titans.
Like it was, they had a few plays that like could have gone either way, and that was literally the whole season right there. So, I mean, yeah, but you never know. Injuries happen. If you run into a team that's got a lot of injuries that you're like, hypothetically, right? The Chiefs, something happens to Mahomes or something like that. Well, guess what? Giants have a really good chance to win that game then, all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Like, it all depends.
And that wasn't that Daniel Jones' second season the year they made the playoffs there? Was that his second season? Or
I think it was, I don't know, second or third season. I can't remember.
But yeah,
it was 2023, right?
Yeah, something like that.
No,
no, it was before that.
2022.
Before that.
It was 2022.
And, at the time, I think we were thinking, you had to squint a little bit to see is Daniel Jones good? Like, you guys got to squint a little bit, and we squinted a little bit, and it was like, no, he's not good. Nope.
Yep.
I don't know. And by the way, for the record, I just wanted to say this. I like Saquon Barkley. I don't want him to get injured. I want to, what I want? I want to see him jump backwards on every single play.
No, you
over
don't.
Somebody. Yes, I do. Every single play they do, I want to see him jump backwards to gain 5 yards. Like, that's exactly what I want to see from him this year. That's the only way I want to see him run, just backwards, jumping over people.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I have my son who is literally like rooting for people to get injured now. He's just like, he's like, I hope Bryce Harper breaks his leg.
Oh man.
I'm like, he's like, he found out Zach Wheeler got hurt and he's out for the rest of the season. He's like, good. I'm glad he's out for the season. And I'm like, okay, buddy, relax. I'm like, right, you are so me when I was your age.
The apple does not fall far from the tree.
The apple definitely does not. I have created a monster.
Yes.
Wow. And we'll see. But he's become quite a lunatic.
That and then you grow up and you're like, you know what? They're human beings and they're not that
perfect. Deep. Yeah, not that deep. Not that important.
I don't root for injuries anymore. But
no.
But
I'm not gonna say,
it's funny.
Just a day off here and there.
Just an off day. You just want them to have an off day. That's
right.
That's all.
Yeah. That's all.
That's all. All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Throwing Bagels podcast. As always, you can check us out on all the socials. We're on X, we're on Threads, we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and I might be missing one or two, but
YouTube.
You can check us out there. You can check us out on YouTube as well. We'll have some clips out there from this episode, and you can check us out anytime on our website at throwingbagels.com. You can reach out to us at throwingbagels@gmail.com.
No, you screwed that one up. You did what I did.
Man.
You did a double that also.
I did.
Throwing Bagels
Podcast at gmail.com.
I knew it.
See, now you can't make fun of me anymore.
I was almost perfect. All right. Well, until next time, Kevin, Jason.
Good night.
See ya.